Okay, we are live. Do you guys, can you confirm that I'm live? How are you doing, my friends? How are you doing? So we have Nemo777 and Entire Meyer. Welcome, my friends. Welcome. So what I'm going to talk about tonight, and we have a few topics here, and in fact, there's a lot of topics to squeeze it into half an hour. Hi, interesting topic tonight. Also, we're going to talk about deeper network. Uh, Deeper network. Okay, are you with deeper network? The I have several topics, and I'm going to try to squeeze in as much as I can here. And one of the ones that I want to talk about is Signal. I actually looked at my phone and got an alert message from Signal here, and the thing about Signal that I really hate, and now I use Signal, okay, but I use Signal with family. I use Signal only with people I know. I don't use it with people I don't know. And I certainly don't want to use it with people I do not like. And the problem is, anyone in your contact list, even people you do not like, see you on Signal. And they get alerted to you being on Signal, and somebody actually, by the way, I even get notifications of dead people on Signal. And I said, oh, such and such is now on Signal. And I said, are you fucking kidding me? That person died a couple of years ago. And that person is now on Signal. Because Signal uses phone numbers. And it really irritates me when I go in there and I see somebody actually spammed a message to a large group of people on Signal. And I'm one of the list. And then one of the people I dislike happened to be on that list of messages, and I said, how does he even know that I'm on Signal? And how does somebody spam a whole contact list, which means somebody actually is from that community? And that really bugs me. And that, to me, is an example of how Signal can be used negatively. This is why BraxMe doesn't do that. And BraxMe has no group identification, no phone numbers, nothing. It doesn't connect past, future, anyone. It doesn't connect anyone. And I hate that about Signal, Telegram, WhatsApp, all these things that are based on phone number. So I just want to tell you that it's just, it bugs me. I got it. And I just wanted to make a comment about that. So the other comment I want to make is about Android versus Android security versus privacy. And I know a lot about Android, and I've researched it more over the last few months. I didn't used to be a big user of Android. I was more of an iOS user. And Android is, it has a lot of security features on the device. And one of the things that I've really researched heavily in the last few weeks is SELinux. So I was like trying to understand, how SELinux is integrated into Android. So an Android phone, and people have asked me many questions about whether whether a Android phone is easily hackable. It's actually pretty hard to hack a phone because even apps are restricted by SELinux. So the app itself is the phone itself is very hardened, even though an iOS phone is actually more hardened than an Android phone. But what is interesting here is when people ask me for advice, and they ask me for cybersecurity advice, and they say, I'm being hacked and I need to protect myself, and I'm using an Android or an iOS phone. And one of the things I recommend is switch to the Google phone. And people say, well, I don't really care about Google spying on me. I only care about somebody hacking me. And this is the disconnect between the thinking about privacy versus security. Yes, an Android phone, in theory, and an iOS phone, but let's talk Android for a moment. An Android phone, in theory, is not easy to hack. It really is not easy to hack unless you root the phone, or somebody takes a hold of the phone and roots it, or if it's an old version of Android. The newer versions of Android are much harder to hack. So yes, I agree, it's very hard to hack an Android. So given that, then why then are you spending all of your energy on preventing your phone from being hacked, and yet Google tracks your location 24/7? Somebody can subpoena that location. Somebody who works for Google could go in there and in theory retrieve information about where this phone has been, because they have that information. That's not something that you can stop. It's part of Google apps that's built into the phone, which does not exist on a de-Googled phone. So it exists on the phone, and some of you are just like coming to me and say, well, I don't really care about that. And it just makes me wonder what the priorities are. Someone is tracking your every move on the phone, and that's Google. Now, yes, I'm on the Google platform. Here I am on YouTube, and my last video was about de-Googling, and looking at the impressions, I don't even think YouTube shared my video that many times. Maybe they didn't like my de-Googling anymore, so maybe they started to block it. I don't know. I have no idea. Maybe my video is just really bad. Whatever the reason is, it's just interesting to note that how can you turn around and say to me that you care about security, you don't want your phone to be hacked, but you're okay with somebody tracking your every move through Wi-Fi scanning, Wi-Fi probes, telemetry, Firebase, and all things that happen on a standard Google phone and a standard iOS phone, and that's okay with you. And yet you say, well, I don't want my phone to be hacked. Well, somebody's collecting that data. And here's the other thing that really bugs me. Some of you actually have incidences where your data has already been captured by third party. The specific example has been with Tesla, when the employees of Tesla actually were tracked as being in the Tesla factory by a third party that simply wanted to know how many people were in a location. And all they wanted to know was how many people were at the factory location. So they tracked the phones and actually hired or got the database, purchased the database from advertisers to see how many of you were at Tesla during various periods of time. And people say, well, we don't care about that. It's like, I don't know how much of an idiot you have to be to start saying, well, maybe that's kind of scary, because then somebody could say, well, how many of you were at the synagogue? How many of you were at the mosque? How many of you were at the protest? Which ones? Which of you? And it's like, you don't get that, I guess. I guess not. So anyway, just a minor rant, just something that, it just really bugs me when, you're trying to protect your phone. You're saying somebody is hacking my phone, but you just have no conception about all the other people that could be taking your data without hacking. Here's the thing about the terminology. When it comes to stuff like Google taking your data, it's not called hacking. It's permissioned. It's legit. It's legit for Google to take your location, and Apple, by the way. Don't exempt Apple here. It's as legit for iOS and Google, Android, Google specifically, to take your locations and store it in their database, and it's legit for them to know this for contact tracing. It is legit for them. You will not get any alerts. That is completely permissioned by SELinux. There is nothing stopping Google from taking that information, because that is whitelisted on SELinux. The protection that's supposed to be in this phone does not protect you against Google. And Google makes the policy, so obviously they're not going to protect you against themselves. And you're going to say, well, but you're protected against everybody else, but not from Google. And you're saying, well, there's no risk from Google. If you think there's no risk from Google, I don't know what to say. Okay, maybe to you there is no risk from Google. So there you go. Anyway, that's one topic. Let me get to another one here. I'm trying to squeeze as many. as I can. And the other topic I want to talk about is an antivirus. And people have asked me this, and there's been many questions about what antivirus should I use, and I actually have a video on that, and I actually have many live streams on it. I haven't done a live stream on antivirus in a while, so maybe we'll do a short one right now, just a very, very brief one, like a 5-minute version of this. But just so you understand, when you install an antivirus in your computer, you actually open up your computer to something that wasn't there before. It opens it up to another new threat. It's supposed to protect you, but the company that puts the antivirus in does not necessarily protect you. I'll give you a specific example. If any of you have a Mac, and on a Mac it is free to install Avast. Anybody install Avast? Avast, Avast. So Avast, it's a very common free antivirus. Avast, one of the things that Avast does, and it could be done by others, but I didn't check, but Avast specifically I've tested, and Avast loads a fake root certificate on your computer, which basically allows Avast to spy on your internet traffic. There's actually an app for doing this. You can actually track the traffic on your phone to see anything going in and out on your phone. If you want to see if there's any secret messages being sent by your phone to somebody else, all you have to do is load a fake certificate on here and use a tool for intercepting the traffic called MITM proxy. So that exists already. So if you load this app on another computer, you load MITM proxy, man in the middle proxy, and you put a fake certificate on there, then what happens is then that MITM proxy can read all the traffic, and you can actually see everything that goes on the phone, even though there are hidden messages. Okay? So what happens is, if you in fact have Avast loads a root certificate that they control. That means Avast can read all of the traffic going on your phone based on the same principle as any other encryption. If you have the root certificate, you can create your own certificate to read anything that goes on. So you can basically substitute a certificate for anything. So if there's google.com, you can substitute your own certificate for google.com, in which case then you can read the traffic from google.com. This is this is a big hacking technique. Pump you with a root certificate, and then you then can see all the traffic. Now, this is not a hack. This is intentional. So you basically, by loading Avast, you are loading their root certificate on your device, and you're saying, okay, it's okay for a third party to read all of your encrypted TLS traffic. I don't know. I don't think I personally wouldn't like that. Would you like to have somebody else have access to all of your secure TLS traffic? So that's what happened. That is an example of one of the things that happens when you load an antivirus. Here's another thing that an antivirus does. When you put in an antivirus, one of the things it does is it actually opens up attachments in advance on any email. So it pre-reads the email, takes the attachment, pre-opens the email, loads it in a sandbox. It's called a sandbox, except the sandbox is in kernel space, and they can actually take over the computer. One of the things that is known for somebody to do is put an app that when you load it in the sandbox, it doesn't do anything. And this is because people have, the people who make malware are smarter now. They know not to activate their bad behavior immediately. They wait. In fact, if you're with the CIA or NSA, your malware will actually not do anything. What your malware will do is sit tight for a long time, maybe a couple of weeks, and then wait for signals from an outside party. Then the outside party. So all it does is listen. So one of the new malware, what they do is they just come in, and an antivirus isn't going to stop it because it doesn't do anything. It's just going to sit there doing nothing. Yet the program is very simple. It sits there, and then maybe over the middle of the night, it will start reading a message from the internet. Maybe it's going to read a message from Facebook, from Twitter, from some innocuous site. And what it does is waits for a trigger command to give it a command to see what to do next. And if it says, oh, I don't have any instructions, so I'm not going to do anything, I quiet down and don't do anything else. Then it says, gives an instruction, download the malware part B. So it then downloads a malware part B, integrates it into it. Now part 1, part B are connected, and it says, oh, we need part C, and then it downloads part C. This is how the Stuxnet and all the more advanced viruses work. So that's the kind of stuff that can happen. This stuff is undetectable to antivirus. I'm not sure what an antivirus is going to do for me. I really don't know. The antivirus is really for you to prevent the spread of what I call kiddie malware. It doesn't really protect you against a 0-day anything. So what is the purpose? What is the actual purpose of what is the actual purpose of an antivirus? To be honest, I don't know anymore. Back in the day, it used to serve a purpose. Nowadays, it doesn't. So do I put an antivirus in my computer? Hell no. Especially if you're running Linux or Mac. No, you don't need one. You don't need one. You're just going to expose yourself with something like Avast that many people put on their Mac, a Mac that, it's hard to hack as it is. And then you're going to put an antivirus there that can that can read your traffic. Hell no. On Windows, I put Windows Defender just because I don't want to spread another kiddie virus. That's the only reason for it. I have other protections for a virus, and it has nothing to do with the antivirus itself, and that is in my video, how to set up a new computer, and that is to never use a admin account. When you're using the computer, never be the admin, always be somebody else, and don't use the word admin for the admin, and maybe the admin account is not the real admin, that's just a guest. You can change the names and conventions so that people get confused. Hackers don't know what account they're dealing with. And that's the way to do that. So malware cannot traverse your file system if you do not have admin rights. It's a very simple thing. You don't have admin rights. A malware can't do much. Therefore, do not have admin rights. I do not do my computers with admin rights. No, I do not. My Windows computer, my Linux computer is not set up to be an admin, so it's not going to impact me if somebody hits me with a virus, because it's not going to do anything. And nowadays, viruses typically go into the downloads folder, and you can kind of keep an eye on that and see what's going on in there. So just something that you rather than a long video, I just want to summarize that. And I can get into more detail about, all the different ways that antivirus can be hacked. And the information for that comes from the CIA. The CIA actually has an official, is it the NSA or CIA? I think it's CIA, has a document explaining why they say antiviruses are pretty bad. So, and they already know that, Kaspersky was taking malware and sending them to Russia for analysis by Kaspersky, and it happened to get all the different NSA viruses, malware on there because they spotted them. Is that good or bad? In a way, it's good, but on the other hand, it kind of bothers me that a different product is taking files from my computer and sending it somewhere without permission. So I don't like that part. Okay, so it's like good and bad. Good that it's capturing malware from anybody, including our own government. But on the other hand, automatically sending it to them without our permission is kind of like not something to build trust. So the answer is not that. Some of you will say, well, why are you anti-Kaspersky? Because you happen to be in the EU and you like Kaspersky. No, I don't like any antivirus. One of the worst antivirus in the world is the one made by this company that was renamed recently. I think, what do they call themselves now? Symantec LifeLock or something? One of the worst companies in the world. Don't ever get an antivirus from that company. That is the most deadly. That company doesn't care about you. They care about themselves. They've done things that affect your security over the years. I hate that company. McAfee, the person I like. As you know, I interviewed John McAfee himself, but not the software. No, Symantec. Oh my gosh, the evil. So Symantec has been broken up. All the evil parts have been sold to Broadcom. So they were the ones making fake certificates. Fake certificates. Symantec. Oh my gosh. I was threatened once on my broadcast, and don't know which company. Company that mentioned, they were the threat came from somebody that took the name of another company, but the only company I've been mentioning on my broadcast was Symantec. So that's when Symantec was big in its day. So I don't even worry about calling it Romantic anymore because they've been split off. So it's Broadcom now, and I'm hoping Broadcom isn't as evil, because unfortunately Broadcom got the blue coat systems and all the bad stuff, and Broadcom is on your phone. So be very careful, guys. Be very, very careful. Okay, the blue coats, yes, the blue coats. So blue coat systems, the ones that put in the spying software, and they sell it to the different Middle Eastern countries and Latin American countries to make sure that the government spies on their people. So, and corporations, of course, many corporations use blue coat systems they can spy on their employees. So if you want to do that, then if you want to spy on your employees, that's blue coat systems. By the way, this broadcast is sponsored by Linode. That's my new sponsor, Linode, and I welcome them to my channel. And if you need a server, you may want to consider Linode. Linode has been a company that I've known for a very, very long time. They apparently were around before AWS, Amazon Web Services, and they're cheaper than AWS. And if you want to set up like a nextcloud server or do some development work and play around, one of you was asking, like, how do I learn how to do Linux and all this? And one of the best ways is just pay for a cheap virtual server, and you just do it on something like Linode. Pay it, it's cheap. I mean, it's like $5 a month. Then you test out a server, and then when you're done, you kill it and start again, and you can do this over and over as many times as you want. So Linode, guys, there's a special. If you go to linode.com/Rob Braxman, they will give you a $60 or 60-day credit on your whatever it is that you get from Linode if you're getting Linode servers. So good company, and I'm very, very particular about which companies I have as a sponsor. And this is a company. It's actually the first one I accepted. Many companies have asked me to for them to sponsor me, and I have not agreed to it because it's not compatible. Linode obviously is very pro Linux, so if you want to do Linux kind of development work or anything like that, then I encourage you to check out a Linode server on the cloud. You can now host your own VPN via Linode if you're tech savvy. You could, but that's actually not that practical. Which we'll get into the next topic, which is VPNs. What you may want to use Linode for is nextcloud. That's something that I'll talk about it. Maybe I'll make a video about nextcloud because some of you are using Google Drive, Dropbox, Google Photos, and that's pretty scary stuff. I mean, Google Photos, they actually admitted in their own press release that they are doing facial recognition on whatever it is that you put in Google Photos, and you're like willingly giving that data to Google. I don't get that. I don't get that. So don't use Google Drive, Google Docs. Why use any of that? You should set up your own nextcloud. So because you own it, it's yours. So that's something I might. Do you know if there's a way to encrypt? Yeah, nextcloud can be encrypted. Yes. I might actually sell a Raspberry Pi software with nextcloud. So you just buy a Raspberry Pi, stick software on it preloaded, and then just run nextcloud on it on your own. You can do that. It's a little complicated, with certain things with security and all that, and that makes it complicated. May be easier to just do it on a Linode server. But it's a thought if you want to do that, and it's something that I will experiment myself to talk about doing nextcloud. So I don't personally need to use nextcloud because I have Brax.me, especially for myself. It's kind of the same thing, but it's like your own. So rather than rely on somebody else to do it, you can have your own with nextcloud. Okay, next topic is decentralized VPN. So somebody has asked me a question, what do I think about decentralized VPNs? And just so we understand, Linode good for remote desktop. You can load any server you want for any purpose. So yes, you can set up a server for any purpose. They tend to be have tools already pre-made for Linux mostly, kind of like AWS is very Linux focused. Okay, so I can't tip you because I'm on Bytes. I can't tip you because I'm on Bytes VPN. Does that put a limitation? Twitty? Anyway, thank you. You don't have to to tip me, Twitty. Thank you. So anyway, by the way, make sure you hit the like button. I guess many of you didn't like my last video. I would appreciate knowing why you didn't like the last video, but either it was completely a bad video that I made. It was kind of difficult to make, and that is related to the last video was related to this product, which is a an Android that's e-ink based. So I de-Googled this and I'm using this with no sensors, and I'm just loving that. It's just anything with no sensors I love. So anyway, don't worry about I was out of order last week. Twitty, you do not need to tip in here. It's what you do on Patreon is great. Thank you very much. If you tip on Super Chat, Google takes half of it anyway. So anyway, I want to talk about decentralized VPNs. I happen to have a product that was shipped to me by this company called Deeper Network. So this is the product they shipped me, and I think it's called a Deeper Network Mini. And you basically put it in one into the kind of like a Brax router. You stick one into the router and then out the other end, and you can continue on your network. And it just basically hangs out in the middle. And what this does is intercept your network. So if this is the internet and this is your internal network, it kind of does something similar to Brax router, but not quite. So, and I want to explain what my thoughts on decentralized VPNs are. The problem with decentralized VPNs is they have pluses and minuses. The plus of a decentralized VPN, and I'll tell you how it works. The plus of a decentralized VPN is there's no central VPN. It runs free for its lifetime in theory. Not really, but if you share resources and use resources and it evens out. It is free. So you only pay for the device. Again, this is not sponsored. This was given to me. I haven't tested the specific unit itself, but I understand how decentralized VPNs work, and I understand that McAfee likely uses a decentralized VPN, and except that instead of the way the decentralized VPNs usually work, which is if you have one of these, you are both the server and the client, meaning you share your VPN to any other people with a device. So let's say there's 100 of you with this device, or 1,000 of you, okay? Then in theory, 1,000 of you are providing internet services to anybody else, and basically you're mixing it up. So instead of using your IP address, you send your traffic to some of those people in the 1,000, and then someone is using yours. So this is kind of like exchanging internet. That's really what a decentralized VPN is, exchanging internet. And because of that, then obviously the IP address is not yours, it's somebody else's. You're not going to get blocked from Netflix and all that because all of you are going to be home VPNs and you're all going to be on a similar network, and you're going to be exchanging network with others. Now, something that McAfee was likely using, and he did not confirm to me that he was using this, but I know this is a technique used, and I don't discuss it because it's illegal, at least in the U.S., and that is you use a botnet, and a botnet means they load the software to do the VPN in the botnet, meaning they take over your computer, load a VPN on it. They use your hacked computer, as their VPN. So, in theory, a hacker, typically what they do, they hack a bunch of computers, then they load the VPN software on those bunch of computers that they hacked. Then they use software to automatically route their traffic to one of those, and in a sense, then you get a free VPN because you're routing it through other people. And if they mix it up enough, then they pass it through a chain of one or two different computers, and it's hard to trace where it came from. In which case, if you even track the traffic, it probably is going to come from another hacked botnet. So they're kind of running it like a private Tor network. Now, the problem with doing it on a botnet, since it's a hacked computer, it's obviously illegal. So a legal version of a botnet is when somebody says, I'm willing to share my internet, and I'm going to do it by installing one of these devices. This is one brand, Deeper Network. You will find the link in the description. This is an Indigo fundraising thing, and they're still on the fundraising. So while the fundraising is on, I believe you can get this cheaper. Again, I'm not promoting this for you. I'm just talking about it. It's not a sponsor. They gave me the unit. I haven't tried it. And I'm going to tell you the pluses and minuses of a decentralized VPN. So if you share your network to other people in the community of people with the same device as this, and Deeper Network is one company, there's several other ones, then there's no central authority. There's no you in theory you don't worry about a centralized logging company like is NordVPN logging you, is IPVanish logging you, and so on. Definitely Bytes VPN not logging you, but I don't know about those other companies. So if a company is logging you, you're aware of that and you're afraid of that possibility, and by doing decentralized, you're thinking this does not have a central authority that will log you. And that's actually true. With a decentralized VPN, in theory, your detailed activities as far as every little bit you do on the internet can only be logged by the IP address that you're using. So if they have some way of doing that. So if you happen to choose somebody in Chicago with one of these as your output point, because you can actually choose, and that whoever that household is, you route your traffic to that household in Chicago, then in theory that household in Chicago then can see your traffic. And in theory, that household, but they don't know who you are, except that they know that you're using the VPN, or using whatever decentralized VPN you're using, and getting that data. So that's a positive compared to, let's say, a big company using a VPN. But here's the problem, guys. It's not, unfortunately, none of these solutions are perfect. Will I shift to this? It's actually a nice backup. I wouldn't mind like having this, as a secondary thing. My problem is, and I'll tell you my fear, because I have experience running a VPN, and my fear is, guys, is that somebody can do illegal things on my network through this. So with this, somebody can select any IP address that is in the family that they can access, and they can say, oh, this one is available, so I pick that IP address in Chicago, and I'm in LA, and then I'm going to do BitTorrent, and I'm going to start downloading illegal movies. Since I am the recipient of all that, on my VPN, I definitely ban BitTorrent. Do not use my VPN if you're going to use BitTorrent, because I don't want that headache of illegal content being tracked, because BitTorrent is tracked like constantly. There are actually companies that actually listen to what you do on BitTorrent, and actually download or serve illegal content themselves, and seeing who the takers are, and then they report you as being the source of the illegal content, even though they're downloading it from you intentionally to make a point, so they can trap you. So it's almost like entrapment. So BitTorrent is awful. The problem is you can't control what they do on this. Somebody can be using BitTorrent on your network, and since you're not a corporate entity, how do you come out and argue with them about this? And then somebody sues you and says, okay, you download illegal content on your IP address. And you said, no, I did not. I was using a decentralized VPN. Well, they're not going to know what a decentralized VPN is. A VPN company is on the front lines. We actually get the accusations of that, and the worst thing they can do to us is to close our account. So I have to deal with that. They close the account, and I have to set up a new one. So that's my main fear of using this is now Deeper Network, the company that makes this, said that at some point they will take some precautions to actually, block certain kinds of traffic like BitTorrent. I don't know how to block BitTorrent. The problem is BitTorrent is not easy to block because there's no known signature. They can change ports all day. So I don't know how they can block BitTorrent. I certainly can't. I can't block BitTorrent on the VPN, so I'm just going to tell people not to use it. So it's kind of deadly. So the other thing about this particular one, and I've checked several other models from different companies other than Deeper Network, and what they do is they want to use cryptocurrency to track the usage. So if you're using the network, they want you to share your network so you even out. If you're more of a user and you don't share your network, then they want to charge you for the use of the network, so that people who share their network more make more money. So they want you to make cryptocurrency with these. The problem with that, guys, is the logging. If you are doing cryptocurrency traffic, cryptocurrency paid traffic with one of these, then there has to be a blockchain that defines all the activity on your device. And I don't like that part. So that's the other thing, is it actually creates a good audit trail, and I'm, there's a plus and minus. So is this a workable solution? This obviously competes with my products, Bytes VPN, Brax router, and I'm going to tell you the facts. I don't really care if you buy my stuff or not. I want you to be informed. You want to buy this, and you should buy this. I just want you to have a balance for you to understand that, my concern is your privacy. And if you want to do privacy through a device like this, that's fine with me. I don't really care how you do it. And it doesn't matter if you buy my products or not. I want to tell you the truth. So anyway, that's a negative I find in this. The other negative that, aside from the logging because of the blockchain, the fact that somebody can do something illegal on your IP address. The other thing that worries me is that because it's individual networks, home networks, then you cannot guarantee a particular bandwidth. So it's going to be slower than a server that's dedicated to handling bandwidth with a large throughput. So if you're on Spectrum Charter or whatever, you're going to be limited by whatever, the bandwidth limitations are of that particular user. Some of you could be in, a state that has very slow internet. Like I have some friends in Kentucky, like rural parts of Kentucky on Brax. They tell me that their bandwidth is like 10 megabits, and it's kind of sad. I have people, friends in Australia, and they're saying that their bandwidth is very low in Australia, and yet in my own network, I'm at 100 to 200 megabits per second, so I'm fast. So it depends on who you get in with. So because of that, it may not be consistent. That on the other hand, you have the advantage of decentralization and no central VPN. So it's something to think about. This is how I got this in a box. So that's how it was shipped to me. So I have to try it out. I haven't really tried it out first, but I read the documentation for it. So that's called Deeper Network. It's an Indigo project. I think they have a special that I linked on the description. You can look at it yourself. Again, they're not a sponsor. I'm just being factual here with what I find, because some of you have asked me about decentralized networks, and I want to make sure you're informed about that. Okay, so there we go. I kind of went long with all these different topics past my deadline, and I will now try to see if I let me start from the bottom here, because that's the most recent here. 100 to 200 megabits for VPN. No. 100 to 200 megabits is slow. This is Wi-Fi here. What the zuck are you talking about? 100 to 200 megabits is fine. East Coast has a slow. How's the Rick? If you use too much internet, you have to pay with Bitcoin. Bitcoin? No, they probably have their own crypto eventually. Deeper Networks is essentially a P2P VPN. It doesn't, there's an infrastructure to it. There's software where you can actually choose, where you're going to be going. Questions I ask is, how often does the connection change automatically? If it does, they said every few hours. I haven't tested it myself, so I don't know. Thoughts on Orchid? I don't. Sounds like the same thing. Orchid, if I recall, I read that. It's kind of a similar product. How to get 100% privacy, live in a cabin in the wild. Nothing good comes from whatever. Deeper Network is interesting. Glad to see you have one to test. Yes, I have not tested it yet. Haven't had time. I promised them I would test it. But, you need to be informed of the options. I just want to make sure you know options, and you have availability of options. Whether or not you want to use it, it's up to you, but you should have the option. I'm not going to lie to you. I'm going to tell you as it is straight up. You have to rely on me, the fact that I'm not a shill. I will talk things that, even if it's not to my advantage financially, I will talk about it. I will talk about companies that are even my sponsors. I talk about anything, including Google, if I don't think they're doing something right. So that's one thing you expect from me is, I will take a stance, and my stance is that your privacy is the key, and it's nothing to do with anything else. No other interest comes to mind. The interest is your interest. That's what I worry about. Okay, I have finally switched to Graphene OS on my Pixel. Okay, that is fine. I certainly am glad that worked for you. I tried loading Graphene on a Pixel 3. I've been unsuccessful. So yeah, I actually bought a Pixel 3 specifically for loading Graphene, and I've been unsuccessful. Let's talk about Graphene, not Graphene specifically, but some of the comments that Graphene makes, though, about the security of a phone. And if you notice, Graphene has some special things that are more towards the cybersecurity side of things. If I were to say, what the focus of Graphene is, it's really more cybersecurity. Harden your phone kind of thing. Whereas my focus is more on privacy. I don't want this phone to emit any data in its normal use that is not part of the security model. Like, the fact that it leaks your location is not part of the SELinux model, but it leaks it. That is not something that, anybody else cares about, including, some of these custom ROMs. So, and Graphene doesn't necessarily focus on that. It does handle it. It does handle it. So I'm not worried about Graphene doing the job. It does the job of blocking Wi-Fi scanning and all that. But just, take everything else with a little bit of grain of salt. It's, you don't have to, not everything that is claimed is necessary or is a problem. For example, there are some claims on Graphene OS about certain kinds of hacks possible with certain things, and that's why they built in certain features into Graphene OS, which are actually already done in Android 10. So in some ways, some of those have been removed, and it's being spoken of as some sort of advantage with Graphene that's already featured in Android 10. So again, Graphene is fine. So if you want to load Graphene, I'd load Graphene myself and sell you phones with Graphene, except the phones are kind of expensive, and I don't think it's necessary for what I'm trying to do here. I'm trying to sell you inexpensive phones. Some of you buy many phones. Some of you, many of you bought, more than one phone from me, at least a couple. And the reason is because the family uses the phone. And so the phones that I sell are very moderately priced. Like this one is only $269, and it runs very well. And happy to say that, people are buying more and more phones because they're very happy with what I'm doing for them. So yes, the issue is my focus is on privacy. For example, if you have a Linux phone, let's just say you have a Pine phone, and I love the Pine phone concept, and I'm a big supporter of UB ports, Ubuntu Touch. Although I can no longer push Ubuntu Touch Nexus 5s because I can't get a Nexus 5. So it has nothing to do with a platform. It's just that I can't get the device. So I'm waiting for the Pine phone to be stable since I no longer have a source of devices that I can sell. The problem is that a Pine phone and a Linux phone is actually pretty easily hacked if somebody takes your phone physically. So if I get a hold of your phone, I can physically hack your phone physically because they're not hardened for that kind of attack, meaning, direct contact, which is not my main concern. You see, I don't really put a lot of data on my phone, so it doesn't really matter. My main focus, I teach you not to use your phone, put more data on the phone itself. If you want to put data, get your own nextcloud server, put your data on externally somewhere else that you can harden. Don't put it on the physical device itself. In my case, my phones are replaceable. I actually, flash this over and over many times to test even a new ROM. And what happens is I wipe out all my data from this, and I don't care because I don't have any data on it. I don't store data on it. Everything that I have is stored in someplace else, usually in the cloud. So because of this, I don't really care so much if somebody says, well, your phone is going to be easily hacked. Because of privacy issues, I've decided that a phone should not contain your naked pics. If you're going to take naked pics and you're going to keep it in your phone, you're not very smart, okay? Get yourself a dedicated camera if that's your thing, okay? Get yourself, something. Where do I have mine? See, I can't even. I don't know where I kept it. So somewhere in here, I have, get a small camera that is not a phone, that's not connected to the internet, if that's your kind of thing to do. And again, I don't judge what you want to do. I'm just telling you how to be secure when you're doing it. And I don't really want to do not rely on companies who want to push you to put all your data on the phone, because they're actually, by actually telling you how secure their phone is, they're actually encouraging you to store your data on the phone with more and more memory and messages and more storage on this, when the reality is you should store less and less on it. Think of this more like a remote desktop. This is really what you need to think of this as, remote desktop. Don't put your data on this. If somebody steals this, you say, Zuck, lost a phone. Okay, I'll buy a new one. Big deal. That's more what you should think about. And that's the preferred way. So that's why when people tell me about how secure they are with their phone, it's like, who cares? I mean, I don't care if it's secure, if Google's going to track my every move. So I do not want to ever have a phone that is it's a big deal with me. You may not think that's a big deal, but I don't want somebody to be able to go to Google and say, tell me every location that this guy has been to. And I'm going to subpoena that information. Now, subpoena all you want. I mean, I don't do anything illegal, but I don't like it. As simple as that. You have no right to take my data. I don't like being tracked. Why do you need to know that? Why doesn't Google need to know what I do all day? Why do they need to do that? Well, I don't want them to do that, so I'm going to deny them that information. I certainly don't want anyone to know anything about anyone in my family or anyone connected to me to be followed and tracked and see who I meet and who they meet and so on. So it's just not acceptable to me. So that is my philosophical difference. So when I do my phones, it's not necessarily about cybersecurity so much because of the philosophical difference. It's more important that the phone itself is unidentified, meaning that's what the Google means to me, that the phone has no identity. I've never logged into this phone. There's no login whatsoever. Some of you ask, can I log in? Samsung is good for privacy. What kind of nonsense is that? Somebody says, can I log into Amazon from this? Yes, fine. Can I log into some other app from this? It's fine, because there's no device fingerprint. They can't tell if you're on a particular device, especially if you take location off. They don't actually know what device you're coming from. So because of the way that device is locked down, there's no identity. They can't pull a Google ID from here and say, oh, you're talking to us on your phone with Google ID such and such with this device fingerprint, so we know what devices you're using. No, they don't even know that. They don't know location. They don't know anything. So aside from what they already know, let's say you log into Amazon from this, Amazon doesn't get any information than they already have. They know what they know. But they're not getting more data from the phone. That's what we're denying them by using the Google phones. You're denying them data from the phone. Now, I'm going to be frank with you. I've sold a lot of these. So these are very popular. And even Joe Rogan wants one, but Joe Rogan hasn't asked me to, I haven't heard from Joe Rogan, but he hasn't said, oh, I'd like to have one of those. But he obviously is interested in one. So anyway, it just philosophical difference here. I don't have the same goals as some other people because privacy is my goal. Okay, so okay, are you shilling here, Praveen Kumar? What? Okay, so Joe Rogan has 100 million so told out. Since Proton VPN is made by the same company, but the VPN recently went open source, what does that mean? All VPNs are open source. That is such a meaningless comment. I don't know of any open VPN that's not open source. All VPNs, in case you didn't know, all VPNs use two. Mostly OpenVPN, which is open source. I use OpenVPN. Everyone uses OpenVPN. Even if you go to private internet access, PIA, and they give you their own software, they just took the software from the open source and they modified the front end a little bit, and it's still basically the same open source software from OpenVPN. So there's actually nothing different. So when somebody says that their VPN software is better or not better, it doesn't mean anything. I can ship to India now. India did not accept international shipment, but they do now. I was shipping to India, then India blocked international shipments. I'll need to check, but I thought they opened up like a few weeks ago. Is Mozilla VPN okay? What's the difference? All VPNs are basically built the same way, but there are differences only operationally, also in trust, in the infrastructure, and performance, and so on. But that's neither here nor there. They're all WireGuard now. They're not all WireGuard, but WireGuard is now an option. Are you disable Intel IME on your computer laptop? Yes, my laptops do not. I'm running a Windows computer here. In case you didn't know, the models starting with the 7th generation Intel consumer laptops. I have this one I'm using here for this broadcast is a HP Spectre X360. If you're using one of those, or a Dell XPS, those kinds of chips no longer have vPro or IME enabled. It may be on the chip, but they're not enabled. So they have not been enabled for several years. So they only enable them on the servers, the big ones, the Xeon servers. So the Xeon probably have them. But one thing you ought to know, and I've told you this often, is that you really shouldn't overreact to the IME, because for IME to be hacked, you need to have a network that can be accessed, that can access the port in the, I think it's 5,000 something port that they have to access on your device. Well, that is not something that can be accessed through your home network, because your home network is on a NAT. Okay? So when you put in your home router, it creates a NAT, and that protects you with kind of like a built-in firewall. It actually blocks all the ports because your computers are non-addressable on the internet. So no one can directly go in and say, I'm going to attack your computer and do IME on it, unless they're on your local area network. They actually have to hack your network first. Only then can they do IME, if they have the Intel code for doing that, which is probably something I expect 3-letter agencies to be able to do. But other than that, yes, Twitty, NAT is when you go into the internet and you have your own IP address, and then you look at your local network and it's 192.168.x.x, and it changes every internet address locally into a local address space, and that is due to the automatic NAT, network address translation, that is done by your router. So that is built into every IPv4 router. Okay, and not an IPv6, so that's why I don't like IPv6. Also ship in Nepal. Don't know. Does Nepal have different rules? I got to check. So smaller countries often have a problem with shipping, with me shipping to them. No more permission options for all apps in Android 10. Location is used by all Android apps. No, Android, as with anything else, you have to block location for all apps by default. What if you're using a VPN info hackers? What if you're using a VPN into a hacker's network? You're exposing yourself, Mike. Yeah, I think we talked about that. Yeah, especially if you're using remote desktop, or VPN. Let's say you VPN using PPTP, which is corporate network, typically Windows, and you're not doing OpenVPN or one of those. You're using PPTP. Well, the thing about PPTP is that you actually become part of the subnet, so you actually become routable on their network. So let's say you logged in, Mike L, you log into the corporate VPN. Anyone in the corporate area can access your device directly, can do IME, can do all of that while you are on the VPN. So yes, it's a direct access. Protection against that, connect to the VPN through the virtual machine. Meaning, regular network on the main network, virtual machine is the one connecting to the VPN. That's a little bit tricky. That's something that I never explained to you, okay? But have the virtual machine do the VPN. And by doing that, then when the corporate network sees your network, they only see the virtual machine, which obviously you can control because you can have it have nothing. Okay? So it's a little bit more tricky, Mike. Something somebody like you can research that, but you have to worry about corporate networks. A lot of you are working from home, and they give you a PPTP connection, and they give you instructions, say log into our network using this, and you can see the entire network on PPTP. On the other end, they can also see you. It goes both ways, so it's kind of scary. Yes, the VM, you have a video on it. Yes, right. So, but if you do the VPN on the VM, not on the host machine, but on the VM, so that's important to know. Do not put the VPN software on the host machine. Put it on the VM. The VM is the one doing the connection. Or if you don't want to do that, have a separate device just for use with a corporate network. Keep it separate. Don't put your personal stuff in there. So that's kind of scary. Some of you are using home computers and you can access, and your personal stuff in there, and you open yourself up on a corporate network, and somebody on a corporate network can go take your stuff and spy on you, or say, well, we want to fire you, so we want to find some reason. Oh, we found some porn on your computer. Okay, so we're going to go fire you. So, yeah, be careful, guys. Separate the two. Put the VPN on the virtual machine if you know how to do that. Yes. That sounds too good to be true for the new Pixel 4. Keep smashing that like button. Yes, if you're watching the broadcast, wow. Thank you. That's a lot of viewers. We got close to. Looks like close to 200 viewers concurrent at any one moment here. That is so awesome and so appreciated. Thank you, guys. Thank you, because for a moment felt like I failed you because nobody was watching my last video. So my last video was I thought was kind of interesting. I personally enjoyed the video. It took a long time to make because any review video you gotta go do this, and it has a lot of B-roll in it, so you have to synchronize, and it's very difficult to do. But anyway, I like this because I'm able to do my work in a larger screen without any spying on it at all. So thank you for hitting the like button, guys. I appreciate it. So anything that makes the algorithm think that I'm okay in your eyes, that's appreciated, because the algorithm, they decide. The algorithm decide not to share my last video, and I know it because of impressions. So I have close to 30,000 followers, and the number of impressions was like, when I looked at it at one point, was 5,000. That means that out of my 30,000, close to 30,000 subscribers, only 5,000 have saw my video, and it's like, suck. Why are they holding back? So anyway, again, to remind you, my sponsor, Linode. So if you are interested in development work or doing any setting up Linux servers, and you want to do something that's very, very inexpensive to learn how to set up Linux servers, or what you want to set up your own website or cloud or WordPress or whatever, their virtual machines here on Linode are very, very reasonable. I've seen some of them as low as $5 a month. So it's an option that you have, and they're a good company. I've known them for a long time, and there's a link in the profile. If you put linode.com/RobBraxman, they will give you some freebies. So there you go. So just to remind you of that. I watched them all. YouTube can't stop me from viewing them. Yes, great goal, but obviously many people are not watching them. Let's see. Library, Twitty, my library account. I mean, I have 30,000, close to 30,000 now on YouTube. What is it? Almost 30,000 now on YouTube, and I have close to 13,000 on library, and I was only there for 3 months. So I'm like, doing so well on library, and I really appreciate it. Library actually pays more than YouTube, and the people at library, the people who actually work for library, they're been very, very supportive of me, and treat me like their partner. So it's really been awesome. And I actually post on library ahead of YouTube. So if you want to get an advanced peek into a video, I will post my videos on library on Wednesday, and then I post it on YouTube on Friday. But my live streams I don't have an automated way of transferring live streams to library, so I don't. So live streams are not going to library right now. Do you mean 7th gen Intel CPUs safe from Intel IME? Not all of them, but certain 7th gen i7s and i5s for consumer laptops. The general labels are like the 7550U, the all the way to 10. If the way you know is before you buy a laptop. Most consumer laptops appear to be safe now. What you do is you go to your laptop in question. Let's say you want a 10th generation CPU from Dell XPS 13. Okay, so then you get the model 10, whatever the 10, whatever the chip model is for the 10th generation Intel. Then you go to the website of Intel, check the chip out and see what the features of the chips are, and look for something called vPro. And then you will see what I mean. vPro is disabled on consumer laptops, but not on servers. So if you're using a server, those are not safe from IME. So just so you know. Can we set up small email servers on Linode? Yes, you should be able to do that, Matt Cow. Yeah, you should be able to do that. I'd like to set up at some point. I'd like to pre-set up email servers for people who want to use them, so it's already configured. And because email servers are very nitpicky, and if you set them up wrong, then you will get spammed, and then your thing will get your email server will get banned. I've never set up one on Linode, but I do have them on Amazon, and so it's a service that I made. I'm too busy with phones right now, so I can't do it right now. But at some point, when people don't want my phones anymore, I might have to shift to making you your own email servers, because your own email servers are actually safer than Proton VPN. If it's your own email server, it's safer than Proton VPN. Not Proton VPN, Proton Mail. Sorry, Proton Mail. So it's safer than Tutanota. It's safer if you have your own email server. You control everything. So there's no need for anybody else. So if you have a platform where you control and you have the password to your server, nobody else has the password, then you're actually safer than any of the other ones. Can your location be tracked with Pine Phone? No. Fortunately, no, but unfortunately, a Pine Phone, it's not quite there yet. So, okay, that's a problem. It's not there yet. Yeah, so Mike, for somebody like you, you can afford to set it up with me, but I'm talking about like a mass consumer kind of email server. They're hard to set up. I'm going to tell you, I have a lot of experience with this, and anyone who knows email servers, you have to kind of keep track with all the latest hacks and how they can hack them, and you have to make sure that your email servers cannot be hacked. And I get hacked, and I have to solve it, and then I have to, because they come up with something new every time, and somebody has to keep an eye on it to make sure that the latest trick is loaded to make sure you don't get hacked. That's one of the things that I do, on my email servers. So my email servers have been hacked in a while, but it can be, and that's the risk. That there's always a way for somebody to find some hole in the server, and it's my job to keep an eye on that to make sure that if there's a new hack, then I make sure that I fix it as soon as possible. Okay, it's not perfect because I didn't make the software, so unfortunately the way email is done, email's not the most as I already said, it's not the most secure, so we got to live with what we have. So to configure it to make sure it doesn't get hacked, it's kind of a project because people are always digging and trying to hack it. Modoboa is good for email server. A lot of good tools. Have your own email server. That's all I'm saying. That's the safest. Rather than pay somebody to, pay extra, set up your own email server like I do. I run my own Braxme server. It's in a cloud, and I run it there. It doesn't cost that much to run, but it costs a lot of time to set up. So it's not cheap to set up because of it's so time consuming. But once it's set up, then it's really easy. So, okay, no name. I don't know what Modo Boa is. I use Postfix. I just configure open source Postfix on Linux. So I configure a Linux server with Postfix on it and all the various tweaks on there, firewalls and everything, to make sure it can't be hacked. That's what I do normally. So, and I have several servers that I've set up like that, and I just copy. It's already set up, so I just copy the server. I've already pre-configured. All I have to do is copy it. What is encroach? I don't know what that is. Encroach chat. Okay, what else? Never heard of library. What's their website? lbry.tv. There's a link in the description. So if you follow me there, then you go to the link in the description and you can follow me directly on library. It's a decentralized P2P version of YouTube, uncensored. So a lot of sites that are censored on YouTube, you'll find them there. So for example, a lot of companies that deal with cryptocurrency are being blocked on YouTube for some reason. I don't really know why. Like, why would, what is there about cryptocurrency that needs to be blocked? I have no idea. But okay, maybe they don't like the fact that they're promoting financial things. So, don't know. You're being filtered here, Great Gold. I'm trying to see. I wonder how much telemetry the new de-Googled Huawei phones collect. Now, this is a very, very important point, because it kind of relates to TikTok. Because although I don't like any government, including our own, pushing and saying we're going to block any platform. The fact of the matter is, China blocked Google and Facebook, which is fine with me. But China blocked Google and Facebook, so they said, well, and eBay and all that, we're going to come up with our own eBay, our own Facebook, and our own platforms in China. So they do. And nobody complains. I mean, nobody said anything about, oh, wow, China blocked all of these platforms. And the U.S., understandably, can say, well, we'll block TikTok. The difference, however, is legitimate. And you need to think about this, because you got to understand that if a company is somehow directly connected to the government in China, such as Huawei is and TikTok, then, well, I guess this is true of any company in China, but especially if somebody was directly connected to them, then in theory, then they can collect this data and be another Google, but not a Google in private enterprise. But it's kind of like saying the NSA owns TikTok. Would you like TikTok to be a TikTok, not TikTok itself, but maybe it's TikTok. If TikTok is owned by the NSA, would you like that? So I guess it's a legit question. I don't like anything to be owned by anyone. So yeah, have fear. Yeah, I'd worry about it. So Huawei has the same problem, because here we go. Huawei created a different phone with their and I checked out some of their phones. I don't have one because you can't buy them in the U.S. obviously, and you cannot unlock the bootloader of a Huawei. So the question is, why does Zuck not? What are they hiding? Why do they lock the bootloader? Why don't they let us go take a Huawei phone and unlock the bootloader and load whatever we want on it? They would sell more phones in theory, right? And there would be a big, huge used market for Huawei's. And no, they don't want to do that. They actually lock the bootloader, which kind of makes you worry, because in the phone, they say it's open source, but the fact of the matter is, if you lock the bootloader, you can't check that. You can load any programs and any APK files and any Linux type programs in any of the OEM folders. You can even modify the SELinux policy. Anyone who compiles their own version of Android can modify the SELinux policies, and you will never know. So they can say, oh yeah, we will allow this kind of traffic to go to the Huawei server so we can track locations, stuff that goes to Google right now. They could do that. We would never know, because there's no way to track that, and we would have to play a bunch of tricks to go capture that data. So yes, don't assume that because it's not Google that there's no threat. I mean, to me, any company that collects your data is a threat, whoever it is. It could be a government, it could be Google, it could be Facebook. As far as I'm concerned, Facebook collects even more data, and Facebook is pure evil to me. Okay, Symantec collected a lot of data, so it really bothered me. One of the things I want to talk about in another video is Microsoft. I mean, fortunately, I'm going to tell you this: you can set up your Microsoft computer, to not collect so much data. But my goodness, guys, by default, did you know that the history of what you're doing on your Windows, meaning what your last activity was, the last website you visited, whatever you're doing historically, is being sent to your Microsoft account to Microsoft? My goodness. Now, you can turn this off, but that's a default. By default, it does all that. So that's just an example, and we just tolerate that. We say, oh, it's fine, they're all spying on me. I don't really care about that. I just want a nice phone. You want to live in a cave. Just some of the comments I get, guys. I mean, especially on comments on YouTube, it's like, people don't have a clue. They don't have a clue. They just, they've never heard of Palantir, so they don't understand how that data is being sold to companies like Axiom, Intellius, People Finders, and who did I miss? Spokeo. And then that data is then acquired by another company called Palantir. And then they juggle that with government data that they legitimately get from the government, like your driver's license info, your medical records, your tax returns, and all that, which they got from the government legally, and they're using it for other purposes. And nobody can control them, because once they get the data, it's like, hey, you didn't restrict us from using it. We got the database, so we might as well use it. You can't be internet famous and have privacy unless your name is Rob Braxman. I'm a little smarter than the average person, Mad Cow. Somebody actually said, I don't even know if I want to waste time responding to this. Some people said, I don't believe in this Rob Braxman guy because I searched him on the internet and I don't come up with anything. Well, obviously you come up with something. You come up with thousands of videos and close to 400 videos here on YouTube. But I have thousands of videos out there over the last 5 years. But that's all you will find, the videos. And BraxMe, the app. So, and somebody was actually looking at this. Well, I can't trust this guy. He's like, it's because I was smarter about it. It's just, you see, they would presumably trust me more if they saw, all the details of my life, which I tell you in general. And there are people here who watch me, who know me personally in my real life and know what I've done, which I don't tell you. Well, I tell you in general, but they're here. They watch. They can say, that's not true, he's lying. Okay? Because, I'm well known before doing something else. I told you I was in medical records, electronic medical records. That was my big thing, and I'm known there. But I hid myself successfully. So my internet presence, when it came to that, was very, very small. So my footprint was very small. So there was nobody that can actually know that much about me, even though I was very good at what I did. And I don't have to prove myself. If you don't believe me, then don't buy my products. It doesn't matter. However, I am so happy to say that every day I get, people complimenting me on the phones that I sell you. As you know, many of you have bought my phones, and and I love sushi too. Uh, sure. Uh, I I many people have bought my phones, and so happy to just to see that the constant happy comments I hear about the products, and I when that happens, it really makes me glad because it means I'm really doing a good job for you guys. So that makes me, you can't sustain something like this. If I'm faking you and selling you bad products, somebody will know and tell you here, and I'll be shut down in a moment. But as you know, as many of you know, many of you talk to me. You're getting good products from me, and I really, really, really appreciate it. Are my phones in stock? They're low in stock right now, but hopefully filling up in the next day or so. If I'm low in stock, some people buy so many at once, and then I just suddenly you know, go from many phones to just one or two overnight. I don't know. Some of you are like buying phones in large quantities, and it's like, wow. It's like you got to give a phone to every member of the family. So when people buy like many phones at once, then that can deplete the stock very, very quickly. How to remove the pre-installed Facebook app manager phone OnePlus 8. When you de-Google, it doesn't come with Facebook. Otherwise, you're zucked. Sushi is Japanese food. So what does that mean? Dragon of Dojima. If I like sushi, then that makes me Japanese. And I don't even like Chinese food. I don't really like Chinese food, to be honest with you. And I'm not Chinese. And I'm not Japanese. I'm Filipino ethnically. So seaweed is healthy and good. When I tried a bit ago, you were sold out of phones. Just keep checking. No, their phones every day. I mean, they kind of change every day, sometimes hourly. So yeah. So right now, at this very moment, I'm starting to get low. I don't know if I updated the numbers. I have phones that I just received. They're not done yet, but they're there. So they're starting to come in. So I expect more phones this weekend. So reach depleted inventory in no time. Yes. So inventory is inventory is a daily question. So most of you will get it. Why do you use separate device? Why do you use a separate device for 2FA? Why do you use a separate device for 2FA? You don't need to use a separate device for 2FA. You need a separate phone number for 2FA, not the device. 2FA is phone number only. So the issue is not to use separate device for 2FA. The issue is to make sure that your phone number is not used for two different purposes. And to be specific, if you have a real name account, let's say Facebook, and you use a particular phone number for it, you do not want to use that same phone number on a fake account name. So let's say you go to Twitter and let's say you're John Smith on Facebook, and then on Twitter you're Stupid Flopper. Let's say your name is Stupid Flopper on Twitter. Then you don't want to connect the phone number for 2FA purposes for Stupid Flopper versus Facebook, because then it will be known to be connected accounts. That's really the only thing you're trying to do. So either you do not use 2FA because you're using YubiKey or some other method, or using Google Authenticator, which you can use, or you're using a different phone number or throwaway, or you're using Google Voice to separate real identity from fake identity. That's the issue. It's not the device. 2FA has nothing to do with the device. 2FA is two-factor authentication. It's about the phone number being used inconsistently. So let's say your phone number is used for work, then anything work related, the phone number is good. But anything social media related, you should have a different phone number for 2FA. That way they don't connect the two accounts if they have different names. Okay? Okay, so I'm obviously out of time here. Dragon of Dojima is okay. His ancestral background is from the Philippines. His nationality is American. That is correct. Somebody actually made a comment about my accent, and Zoc, I can't win here. So what if I have an accent? Do you guys care? As long as you understand me, right? I'm an immigrant, but I don't really want to call myself an immigrant because that's associated with I'm proud to be an American citizen. I am an American citizen, and I'm proud to be one. And I believe in this nation and believe in what this nation stands for. So I do not want to refer to myself as an immigrant because of that. But I am an immigrant, obviously. I was very lucky to recover my phone. Accent? No, I don't care. Like, thank you, Dragon. You sound like you're from the West Coast. You don't mind my accent. We all have accents. Anyone who can't figure out how to beat 2FA really needs to learn a little critical thinking. Okay. Amazon 2FA is scary. Do they do anything different? I don't do anything different. In fact, many of my Amazon do not have 2FA. Google Authenticator versus Authy. That's the same thing, actually, except one is made by Google and one is not. Authy, if something asks for Google Authenticator and you use use Authy, it's the same thing. They're interchangeable. So, to be honest with you, Google Authenticator is kind of a crappy app in a sense it's badly designed. So for that reason, you'd probably like to use Authy better. However, they're identical. They're not made to spy on you. That's not what a Google Authenticator does. It's really just it's open source. It's just a mathematical thing. You can make your own equivalent to Google Authenticator. I did. So it's just math. It's just mathematics. Okay, it takes a time and then creates a unique identifier for that, and that's it. And then stores it stores a key, and then regenerates a challenge response based on what it stores, and it's always based on time. It's called TOTP, time-based one-time password. So it's a time-based one-time password. That's what Google Authenticator and Authy is. You can use either one. Okay, so anyway, looks like I can use Authy on RG. I use Authy. Yeah, Authy's fine. Google Authenticator is fine too. It's not a spying thing. Google Authenticator doesn't do much, so it's fine. Use free OTP as an alternative. Sure. I don't really care what you use when it comes to TOTP. It's just TOTP. Okay? If you actually know how it works, then you'll say, oh, that's it? You need to wear a cowboy hat to prove you're American. Mel Gibson, you should wear a Mel Gibson outfit. Most of what you say goes over my head, but I still enjoy listening. Is NordVPN trusted? Hell no. Google Authenticator is micro-G-able. It doesn't need any of that. Google Authenticator, Authy run locally. It's just mathematics. Like I said, you can write your own. It's basically just math. All it needs is the time. It doesn't need location. Don't give it any kind of rights. All it needs is time, and it can compute TOTP. That's all it is. Okay? What do you think about using What do you think about McAfee using Gmail? Yeah, you can watch my video on that when I interviewed him. I discussed that. So what VPN do I use? You should use Bytes VPN. So do you like OpenVPN? OpenVPN is the same. All VPN companies uses OpenVPN, and some now use WireGuard with it. So it's open source. That's all of us use the same one. It's the OpenVPN protocol. That's used for commercial VPNs. Your office uses something called PPTP. So if you're going to connect to your office, it's not OpenVPN. They use a different one. It's PPTP, which exposes your traffic to them. Cosmic Rose, I need to go back and play some more piano on Periscope. WireGuard is better than OpenVPN. Yes, Donnie, you keep saying that, but that may be true. Who knows? Do it yourself. OpenVPN yourself. Trust nobody. That doesn't help you though. It identifies you. If you get your own. Let's say you go to my sponsor Linode, and then you get a Linode server, and then you make a VPN server for yourself. Then anyone can know it's you. All they have to do is ask Linode, well, who owns this server? Linode says it's you. This is your credit card number, and they know all your traffic. So you hid nothing. So it's not a good idea to have your own VPN or OpenVPN server. That's why you don't do that. You need a group of people to hide your information through something called disinformation. So a VPN, the intent of a VPN is disinformation. Many people with the same IP address. That's one of the other negatives of using this deeper network decentralized VPN is you don't get as many people sharing one network. So there's a few people on the VPN. So your traffic is, is more selectable. Because it's kind of one-to-one. If there's 1,000 people, there's not going to be 1,000 people on your network. It's going to be a handful. So your traffic is kind of more distinct. So that's why you want disinformation. You want some larger group. You don't want it too large, like a NordVPN where they put thousands on one server. I put very few people on one server, but just to not exceed the capacity of the server. But there's enough there to hide your traffic because there's enough people in there, just not excessively so. Okay, so you can hide me anytime. Okay, Cosmic Rose. I'll hide you. Is that the Nitro router? I just showed you a deeper network. There it says on the top, deeper. There's a link in the description. Thank you for this interesting topic. You click like. You just click like. What is better, Tor or incognito mode? What do you mean? What is better, Tor or incognito mode? Do not ever use incognito mode. That is the most useless. You mean on your browser, incognito mode? Useless. Don't use that. Can we use Rise Up VPN from? And I have no idea, Sonny. on F-Droid, I would use Orbot. That's official. Orbot is official. The deeper link is not working. Really? I'll check it later. What do you mean it's not working? Okay, I'll check it later for typos after the broadcast. I'll do it immediately. So if the link isn't working, give me a moment to cross check it. But I just cut and pasted it and I tried it. It should work. Okay, guys. So I'm out of time. I'm 9 minutes over my deadline here. thank you for supporting this broadcast. I appreciate it. There's a lot of you watched the live stream, and it's funny. I got more viewers on the live stream than on my actual video. So if you have any ideas about videos, by the way, leave comments on Braxme or here on any of the broadcast comments, because I want like new ideas of what interests you. Because sometimes I do a video and I don't really know, what causes people to click. Sometimes I think I do and then I don't. And it's kind of unpredictable, and a little bit of predictability would be appreciated if I know what you guys want. And I want to make sure that, I do what for you. It's not for me, it's for you. So I want to make sure that I do a good job to give you good content. So appreciate it. Again, follow me on LBRY Library. And thank you to my sponsor, Linode. And we'll see you in a live stream. A new video on Thursday as usual. So my normal schedule is Thursday video, Friday live stream, and I'll see you next week, hopefully with a new topic. So I don't know what the topic should be. Nextcloud? I don't know. You tell me. Whatever interests you. Thank you for watching, guys. Good night.